Hello everyone, my name is Wei Yu. I work at the Department of Communications at UMedia National University of Singapore. Today I'm going to share with you 30 years of China's online fandom as part of this fabulous panel on 30 years of the internet in China. I want to first thank Center on Digital Culture and Society and Professor Yang Guobing, as well as several other colleagues for putting up this wonderful event. I'm sure that you're going to hear a diverse perspectives towards Chinese internet within the last 30 years, and my sharing focus on online fandom. So, online fandom in China started from humble beginnings, very much attached to the technological development back then in the 1990s when Hong Kong and Taiwan popular culture has been dominant in mainland China. This is where the fans' attention has been. One of the earliest online fandom communities we can spot is actually a website dedicated to Lin Qingxia, a Taiwanese idol or movie star. The website is no longer in function, but the community is still around. You can find the community on Weibo. Other than these dedicated websites featuring these favorite idols, we also see fans or followers or supporters of these idols or movie stars back then discuss their fandom on bulletin board services. So you could say that in the early days, you don't find a lot of dedicated fan spaces on the internet. But as time goes on, fandom continues to grow as well as fandom content becomes diversified. Fans have expanded their interest from all these Chinese speaking idols and Chinese language content to pan-Asian content. You find Japanese and Korean content becoming popular in mainland China, and later on Western content from the US and UK. However, an important characteristics back then for this transcultural fandom is that out of the so-called concerns regarding cultural imperialism, cultural pollution, the government back then has set very strict restrictions on the imports and the traditional media representations of these transcultural content, especially the ones coming from the so-called Western contexts. So, what fans can do back then to access this kind of a transcultural content, they would have done that through largely illegal means. Back then, pirate videos, VCDs, DVDs, all of that have become a major sources for everyday users to access foreign content or transcultural content. Internet, when it came into our daily life, also became a very useful channel for people to share, to get content like such. So at the same time, local fandom also is growing. The show called Supervoice Girl 2 marked such a turning point where the local industry, culture industry, successfully produced not just one, but a bunch of local idols who have attracted a large following, a large fandom. We want to remember that although these celebrities are local, the cultural industry that's behind these local celebrities are not completely just local, right? They not only have capitals from outside of China, but also borrowed a lot of cultural practices and strategies from these so-called foreign counterparts. All right, so I noticed two things that are very interesting and continues to matter a lot in China's online fandom through all these years. That's basically fans' self-organization and conflicts among different fans. So remember that during the transcultural flow, we had lots of foreign content coming in through the internet. However, these content was brought into Chinese communities without legal licenses, right? So these content were not really prepared for Chinese audiences. One significant barrier is language. How do Chinese audiences can enjoy the foreign content if they don't speak the language? Translation communities emerged to answer this needs, right? You could actually see that as a kind of help groups fans build up to satisfy their own needs. They are not doing this for any grand reasons. They're really just doing this in order for themselves to consume more content in a language that they don't speak. However, through these fan practices, right, driven by these fan motifs, they have built up their self-organization skills and structure. This skill and structure later on will be used in other things. Conflicts, right? We have talked about how content from different parts of the world have flowed into the Chinese cyberspace. You can imagine different fan groups formed themselves around these different content of different origins. And there is a clear so-called debate between the local fans and the transcultural fans, right? Fans who like the local idols like Li Yuchun sometimes get into fights or debates or quarrels with other fans. One of the interesting examples many of us know is the Yi-Ba, right? A discussion forum, Baidu discussion forum dedicated to a Chinese soccer player called Li Yi, right? This fandom is very different from other fandom. Other than just saying good things about their idol, they actually make fun of the idol. They attack each other. They just call each other 屌丝, right? So this is a completely different type of fandom. However, when this group gets into conflicts with other fan groups, what this group has done was basically to use online means, right, such as flooding other discussion forums with irrelevant posts to so-called fight the other fan groups. Again, this practices is motivated, originated from fan motives. However, later on, the practice is turned into something different, right, used for different purpose, basically nationalist purposes. Now, I want to talk about the peak of local idol production. Maybe we have different views about when this thing peaked, but when I look back, I felt 2014 is a watershed moment, watershed year. In this year, we saw two interesting developments. The first one is the so-called return of idols. These return of idols who are supposed to be trained and make their fame in other more advanced popular culture countries, such as South Korea, came back to China and decided to continue their career in the Chinese circle. This basically means that we suddenly have an abundant supply of local idols, right? And these local idols are argued to have the same quality of foreign idols. On the other hand, right, Weibo ranking, Weibo 热搜 was also introduced to the users as everyday mechanisms when users could so-called interact, pay attention, and develop a parasocial relationship with these idols. So on the one hand, you have a supply of local idols. On the other hand, you also have newly developed mechanisms for fans to engage with these idols. That's how we see the entire online fandom in China goes into a completely different level, right? So many scholars have talked about the algorithm and platformized fan practices and fan culture, where the concept of traffic and making data workers for your idols have become so prominent in fan culture. Here I borrowed from a Zhihu diagram about the daily activities of fans and fan communities are engaged in. Other than your normal activities such as finances, management of fans, you see that majority of the activities are surrounding making data, right? Making data, managing traffic, also fighting also the so-called anti-fans. So through this very, very well-organized practice, you could see that the self-organization ability and structure of fan communities have also increased and gone into a different stage. Well, when this ability goes beyond control, right, goes beyond the influence within fan communities themselves, it could become problematic. One of the major so-called incidents recently was this milk dumping event when fans had to buy tickets to support their idol, but the tickets were only buried in the lid of milk bottles. So they bought lots of milks they don't need, right? Just to get that ticket hidden in the lid. So this incident has drawn wide attention from the larger society and also government crackdowns. After that, government launched the Qinglang movement to control and limit the fan behaviors and the fan practices. So that's a quick review, very condensed review about the 30 years of online fandom in China. I want to also summarize some of the academic interests I see from examining these phenomena. So, state society relationships have been really dominant in all kinds of Chinese internet research. So, fan research is no exception. Fan nationalism, basically how fan use their ability, structure, practices to advocate for nationalism has always been one of the focuses. Professor Florence Schneider from the Netherlands has been a pioneer in this aspect. Labor, right, also is an interesting perspective, how fans provide free labor, effective labor, data labor to not only their idols, but also the cultural industry behind the idols, right? I believe that Professor Jack Cho from NTU has been pioneering in this area for a long time. Myself has taken Henry Jenkins' participatory culture perspective to examine some of the active portions of the fan community, basically the translation community, right? I have also seen research examining the transcultural flow between different audiences, how Chinese audience enjoy American content, vice versa. Identity politics also has been very prominent, especially how fans use fan fictions, right? Use their imaginations about the relationships between idols to defy maybe stereotypical understanding of gender roles, about sexuality, so on and so forth. I believe that these are persistent interests, regardless of how the internet would evolve, how fandom would evolve. However, I want to also bring our attention to some of the less than popularly examined perspectives, right? So the first one is the integration of fandom and governance. Professor Guo Shaohua has written a fabulous paper on this some years ago. I really hope to see continuous examination about this issue, how government actors actually use fandom or popular culture strategies, right, to engage their younger audiences. I also want to bring our attention to financialization of fandom. We haven't paid enough, I felt, in attention to the economic aspects of the whole development, how capitals functions and how different types of capitals, right? How stock markets, how financial gambling would all play a role in shaping fandom. Lastly, I hope that we can also refocus on transcultural flow or the lack of such in recent years. One interesting observation is transcultural flow between the so-called global South cultures, right? Chinese audiences enjoying Thai popular TV shows, vice versa. How this transcultural fandom manifests itself would be interesting to me. I want to conclude my sharing today with two questions or two calls. The first one is the evaluation of fandom. I realize that this evaluation tends to be a little bit polarized when the labor and maybe nationalist perspective frame fandom to be less than so-called rational or vogue, right, when it comes to their behaviors. Then the participatory culture and identity politics perspectives tend to celebrate the possibilities of fandom. So how do we look at fandom and understand the complexity of the phenomenon? When, in what conditions, under which kind of situations, using what set of criteria fandom can be seen as a good or bad thing? That's my first call. The second call I want to make here is to really try very hard to show the rest of the world how knowing China's online fandom or Chinese internet in general can enrich our global understanding of the same topic. I think I attempt here to offer three very initial answers. The first one is I would invite everyone who studies fandom in other parts of the world to look at the interactions and dynamics between technology, capital, and government in shaping fandom. My second answer to this question is imagine that we're going to have a China wave in a few years. If that's ever happens, I would like to invite our scholars from other parts of the world to think about how online fandom in China may be brought into other countries through this China wave. My third answer to this question is when we look at fandom and its implications in your own country, we should learn from the China's case that there will be diverse implications, right? Fandom will not be always good or always bad. We should pay attention to the details, the conditions, the situations, and criteria we used to evaluate their implications. I'm going to stop there and thank you so much for listening. Look forward to our conversation later.